Hello all, this is Jeff Clemmer with Springside Realty, and this is what I hope will be the first of many videos that I will post on my YouTube channel. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of insight to that. For probably well over a year, I've been thinking a lot about posting videos on YouTube that would be of interest to people that are either in the business or just interested in real estate, be them buyers or sellers, other agents or brokers. And I haven't done it because I wanted everything to be just perfect. I wanted them to look like they're professional, and I wanted just to have the perfect words to say. And because of that, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and I haven't taken any action. Well, today I actually was motivated by a fellow agent out of Ohio who is posting videos just when he is driving around, when he has a moment. And I decided that, you know what, everything doesn't have to be perfect. I can just post some ideas that come to my head, and that's what I want to do today for starters, and hopefully we can keep this trend going, and some of what I have to say will be of help. So I'm gonna get rolling here pretty soon, but I'll keep on talking as I'm watching the road. And but I wanted to share with you just a little bit about a call that I had today, and maybe some folks will learn a little bit on what not to do, or maybe they'll have some ideas as well. So here goes. So in real estate, as an agent and a broker, I do subscribe to a number of different places to get leads from prospective buyers and sellers. While I certainly get a lot of business from referrals from past clients and friends and family and what have you, I do like to find new clients as well, and one of those ways is to subscribe to some leads. And today I got a lead in from a woman that was looking to sell her home. And as I dug into it a little bit more before I actually called her, I learned that she had purchased it about 2 years ago on a contract for deed. She seemed pretty motivated, meaning that she had to sell relatively quickly. So I knew that there were some challenges going on, but I wasn't sure what those were. So anyway, once I gathered as much as I could just from public records and other tools that I have available to me, I gave her a call. And here was the gig. So a couple years back, she had purchased this home on a contract for deed from an investor. And it was a single family home, but it was actually in a location that was sandwiched between two commercial buildings. One of them was a multi-unit apartment building, and the other was a commercial building, but both would be considered commercial because it was the apartment building had more than 4 units. And her dream was to provide some housing to men that were in transition from maybe a previous addiction and trying to get themselves on the road to living on their own, or just other challenges. So that was her hope, and I commend her for that. However, it didn't work out the way that she was hoping, and she just wasn't finding the right folks to live there, and she wasn't tapped into the right resources with the county that she was in, and she was not able to make the payments on that contract for deed. So she needed to sell, and in a contract for deed, you don't actually have to go through a full foreclosure in our state. You can actually, a person that sells on a contract for deed, if they're not getting paid, they can actually just cancel the contract for deed with a 60-day notice, as long as the person that is buying is not holding up their end of the bargain, and an obvious reason would be that they're not paying. So that's what had happened with this individual, and that happened actually back in late October. So that 60-day period was ending. Is actually ending at the end of December, and now she needs to sell or come up with money to make good with her contract for deed. And that's the idea of that 60-day period, is hopefully a person can make good with what's owed, either any back payments or down payment money that was missed, or who knows what. But that's the idea behind it. So she was ideally looking for somebody that could help her come up with 30 grand to make good on those payments, and a little bit of down payment that she had missed, because her situation was that she was going to pay her down payment in 3 separate installments, and she made about 1.5 of those installments and then couldn't do it. So that was her ideal. But also she would, happily sell to somebody if they could make her whole. So I kind of listened to this situation and determined that it really wouldn't be a good investment for me or most of the folks that I know. So then I started, asking additional questions about, where is she at, and has she ever been approached to sell the property and that sort of thing. And I came to find out that there was a gentleman that owned the building next door, that was the apartment building, and that actually was being used for a similar purpose. It was actually transitional housing, but that person had the appropriate licenses and such. And he had at one point expressed an interest in buying it, but apparently no longer had the interest, because he tracked down the person that was selling it on the contract for deed and was hoping to do a transaction with that individual. And that's actually what prompted the cancellation. What prompted it was missing payments, but that's what kind of accelerated that, was that the person selling this home on a contract for deed had somebody interested in purchasing the property, so he's hoping to kind of get her out so this other gentleman can buy. So as I was kind of digging into that a little bit, here's where I'll often just provide advice when I know that it's not going to benefit me, at least not going to benefit me from a business perspective. And my recommendation was that very likely this gentleman that had an interest in purchasing was going to purchase for significantly more than what the woman that was buying on contract for deed would be willing to sell. But he didn't know that. He has some probably unwritten agreement that he can buy this property from the owner that is canceling the contract for deed. So what I suggested that she do, while she's put in some phone calls, he doesn't return them, but I suggested that she actually, and by the way, she's a licensed broker, licensed real estate broker. So she has access to forms and that sort of thing, but to write up an offer where she actually is the seller, but write it up, put it on paper, and offer it to this gentleman for a very good price, one where she might make a little bit, maybe not as much as she would hope, but something, and actually deliver it to this neighboring owner. So he'll actually see that, hey, if he buys it from her, that he could save himself quite a bit. So that was the conversation that we had, was to how to go about that. And then actually, as we were discussing it further, she revealed that, hey, maybe there's a tenant on the building on the other side that might have an interest as well. It is a company that has expanded beyond where they can grow within the current confines of the business next door. And the property that she owns is zoned commercial, so they potentially could move some of what they're doing into her property. So that was another option that she has, is to sell it to that individual or to the owner of that building. And then as we got to talking, it dawned on her that there might be a residential owner that has property abutting her on the back of the lot that might be interested in her home as well, as that individual had bought some other land that went up for sale because they wanted to have more green space around them. So as we got to talking, she determined that there might be several different buyers. Now, you might ask, okay, how is that going to help her if she needs to figure something out within the next couple of weeks here, because the end of December is coming up quickly. And that is a very good point. But my point to her when she started to think about this was, what does she have to lose? Maybe one of those individuals will be in a position where they could purchase with cash. Maybe they have a line of credit available with a bank where they could purchase very quickly. Or maybe she could have some arrangement with them where they provide their down payment money right away and have an agreement where she can use that money to bring her contract current so she doesn't get canceled on, and then the transaction can happen. So a lot of different things came up during the conversation. In some cases, this is a scenario where I might help that homeowner. In other cases, I just kind of have a conversation and we brainstorm on ideas, and if the seller, or if it's a buyer, the buyer can handle something on their own, I bid them luck and ask them to stay in touch. And in other cases, if they can't do it, I offer my services where it makes sense. So I just wanted to share that information a little bit and give you some insight into the types of calls that I get from prospective buyers and sellers, that being one that I received just this morning. So again, this is Jeff Clemmer with Springside Realty. If ever you've got kind of a unique situation that you just want to talk a little bit about and see if I can provide some ideas or potentially help you, I'd love to have that conversation.